Your show director, and the first ski show is in less than 6 weeks. Are you ready?
Nope.
It's showtime. This is The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast, and your one and only source for all things show skiing, bringing you news, knowledge, and interviews with the legends and stars of our sport. Here are your hosts, Matt Heilman and Adam Schaller.
Welcome to The Ski Show. We have a fun episode in store today. We have special guest David Rezin. Hi, Dave.
Hey, guys.
I don't think he's special anymore. It's just Dave. He's always
true.
on the show.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's been a while. Well, today we're going to talk Worlds. We're going to recap the All-American. We're going to talk about D2 Nationals, which has had a move of venue. We're going to talk freestyle jump. We're going to play a little game called Mount Rushmore, where Dave and Adam and I are each going to pick our own 4 greatest show ski acts of all time that we think belong on the Mount Rushmore of show ski acts.
That's right. Today's sponsors are FlymanSkis, custom-made jump skis, and Featherboard swivel skis at affordable prices. You can get yours at FlymanSkis.com. The Paul Stokes Agency at American Family Insurance. Let Paul be your insurance agent. And by Saga Sports. It stands for Ski and Gymnastics Academy, and they do water ski lessons and trampoline training. Check them out at sagasports.us.
I know it's already passed, but for those of you on the YouTube side, I got my Masters hat on. What an event. I'm sure Adam didn't watch the Masters, did you?
You are 100% correct, but I do know who won.
You do? Good. All right.
Yeah, Rory.
Rory.
Nope. Rory.
That was one of the most thrilling sporting events I've ever seen, to be honest with you. It was like edge of your seat excitement for the last 3 hours straight. It was amazing. And to see that culmination for him and that pure emotion after, to me, was everything. It was just spectacular.
Thrilling, edge of your seat excitement, and we're talking about golf, folks.
Yep.
But it wasn't even well, it was the tournament, right? But it was the build-up, all that guy has gone through, the pressure that was on him. I mean, to start out the last round and on the first hole to double bogey and to give up the little lead that you had, it was like the critics were already chomping at him. Like, it's the same old story. He's gonna choke, and then to see him persevere, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, I think the Netflix series really shines a light on golf, and it makes, people that normally don't pay attention, like me, I've seen the Netflix series, like, kind of know what's going on and how big a deal this was.
Yep. Pretty cool stuff. So, yeah, good, great stuff. Fun to see Rory win. Well, anyway, let's dive into our stuff. Before we dive in too deep, let's talk about FlymanSkis right out of the gate here, Adam. FlymanSkis has you covered whether you want custom-made jump skis or you want gorgeous Featherboard swivel skis. These skis are affordable, and these guys are pushing the sport in new and exciting ways.
Yeah, FlymanSkis is the title sponsor of the Buck Up Freestyle Pro Tour, so you'll see and hear their name at the Buck Up Tour stops, and they are helping put up some great prize money for those events.
Yeah, they are, and whether it's jump skis you need or swivel skis, they've got them. Design your own custom skis, design your own custom colors, or choose one of their stock designs. To get your skis, head to FlymanSkis.com. That's FlymanSkis.com. All right, shall we dive in today, gentlemen? We got a handful of things to talk about. Since we got Dave on, I know we talked last episode a bit on the front end with Pete, which, by the way, our Pete Haggerty episode has so far been the #1 episode of all time for the Ski Show podcast. Now, it hasn't hit the total number of listens that the first Matt May one did, our very first episode, but Matt May's episode has been on the airwaves for 5 years. This one, on its trend line, had the most after 1 day, had the most after 1 week, and has the most after 2 weeks. So it is our #1 listened to podcast. That was awesome.
No surprise.
No, and if people haven't listened to that, they need to tune into that Pete episode. But we talked about Worlds a little bit, but we have Dave here. So let's just sort of recap our Worlds experience. We'd like to hear from you, Dave. How was Worlds for you? And now that you've had a chance to reflect on it, what are your thoughts?
Oh wow. Every Worlds, we've talked about it in the past, every Worlds is a unique experience, and you take away different memories and different experiences. This one was not unlike that same scenario. So many great memories. Obviously Pete's journey, that stands out. Australia and the show that they had on Sunday. Hats off to them and what they were able to put on the water. Hats off to Brutus, to Pete, and their leadership of that team. Understanding that not only Australia, Canada, Belgium, they up their games, by far the best that we've seen both of those teams ski, I think, at a world tournament as well. And then, no doubt, I think our response on Sunday, first time ever that we've skied a Sunday show, that better than we skied a Saturday show. You guys recapped it, awesome. And then the little things, just how this experience was kind of unique in nature to other world experiences, more social activities, bringing all the teams together. I love that. And all the competitors love that. That was awesome. Going home every night, listening to our girls, sing Pink Pony Girl or whatever that song is.
Pony Club.
Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
And, just some of the great times that we had together, bonding as a team. It was amazing. So.
Was kudos to Australia for the hosting of the tournament. Like, that was among the best of all the Worlds we've been at. There's been so far. Having that ski club on the water there with that outdoor area, just phenomenal. And so we were there 4 nights in a row during the core of the week. We were back there for opening ceremonies. Like, there was a lot going on there, but it's a cool spot. They had restaurants, bars, live music often later in the evening there. So cool to have the teams together. I think all the athletes appreciated that. That was a message that the Show Ski Council heard loud and clear from the athletes from previous Worlds, is they want more interaction in and among the teams. And so that was cool. So I'll always remember that component of it. I think Australia did a phenomenal job of hosting this tournament. Yeah, it was an awesome Worlds. Adam, any further thoughts from you on Worlds as you've reflected on it?
I mean, let's not forget the laser show at the Water Ski Club, right?
Right?
They put out fog machines and they shot lasers. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, and this one, it was a month ago that we left for Australia, and it seems like a year ago. It was a blur. I mean, it was. I think we talked a little bit about this, but coming off of winter for all of the U.S. athletes, when we got there, it was, and immediately when we got there, it was business. Like, up until the tournament, there wasn't lots of planned downtime or other than what we did at the Water Ski Club team social events. It was practice.
It was go. You're right.
Yeah.
And I was chatting with somebody about that when we got home, and maybe in hindsight, we should have planned differently. However, our mindset going in was we're going to reserve these practice slots, and thinking that throughout the course of the week, we're not going to really need them as things click or people get fatigued. We needed every ounce of practice that we had signed up for. Like, it just takes longer to click coming off of winter, traveling across the world. Like, I have a newfound respect for Team Australia, having done it all these years, coming to the Northern Hemisphere. That's why they come weeks early to train, get their bodies in shape. And so for us, we needed every ounce of water time. And what it resulted in was like this go. We would have 30 minutes to go back to the room and change clothes to go to dinner. We were on the go.
And, with that being said, Matt, like, I don't think we could have done any more water time. Yeah, it's not like if we had additional time during the day, like, we were pushing up against the limits of our skiers, I feel like.
Correct.
They needed, coming out of winter, they needed to rest. They needed to give their bodies, some recovery, physically, mentally, the whole 9 yards. Like, we couldn't have pushed them anymore to the point where they're like, we're good. We can't, do you want more reps? No, we can't take more reps. We got to save ourselves for tomorrow. So I think we did all we could do with the time that we have provided.
Yep. Let's look ahead to 2027 Worlds. Thoughts on that being in Lake City, Warsaw, Indiana?
It's awesome. Like, Lake City does a great job hosting tournaments, and Worlds will be no different. I like skiing there. I mean, I don't ski, but I like performing there. So I think that's a excellent choice. They're going to be great hosts, and holy smokes, whoever ends up being like the team manager or logistics in 2027 for the U.S., like, your job is just infinitely easier than having to travel to Australia. Because I mean, you're gonna be able to lean on Lake City, like, for a lot of these. Like, hey, what do we do for this? Where do we go for this? All of that. Which, no, hats off again to Belgium and Australia, and for traveling across the globe to do this. You realize, now that we've done it, how hard it is and how great it is to have it in the States. I mean, just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, I think the world of Randy, Tracy, Caleb, the entire Lake City crew, they are, I mean, we talked about hospitality in Australia. It's going to be a stepping stone for Lake City. They're going to take that baton and they're going to run with it. And so I think it's going to be great. I think probably the greatest challenge for Lake City is going to be offering a similar experience when it comes to the competition lake, which is the Lake City site, and a practice lake, right? Like, we had 150, 200 feet that we would literally walk across. They're not going to be able to replicate that, but they're going to have to do some due diligence in terms of identifying a calm water piece of property that they can go ahead and host practices on.
And very few
there's a lot of lakes around there. I mean, they're not called Lake City for nothing.
Correct.
100%.
And I've had them. Chuck McLaughlin's reached out, kind of picking my brain a little bit about things. That was one of the topics of conversation. Not a lot of event sites have been able to offer that. I mean, Rapids has a challenge. There was the river site. Janesville has Rockford in proximity. But having that, like we had in Australia, is few and far between. So finding a practice lake is key. So they're actually, Chuck said they're looking for folks with mobile beam and ramps that can bring them to Lake City after Labor Day, and so that they can have another ramp or two on alternate lakes. And setting up some practice sites. So that's on their radar. So hopefully that's going to be a big component, because what will happen with Worlds is this last was only 4 teams. If there's 6 or 7 teams, practice time is at a premium. There's not enough practice time in a day for all the teams and all the individuals in 1 week's worth of training. So you need alternate practice locations to accommodate all the teams' needs for practice time, for water time.
And you slipped in a little bit of a plural. It may, if it gets into enough teams, and again, who knows, right? Mm-hmm. 2 years.
Correct.
If you got 6, 7, 8 teams, you might be looking at multiple practice locations to make sure that everybody has that experience and gets the water time that they're looking for.
Exactly. Well, looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. Fall of 2027. The next Worlds in Lake City Skiers in Warsaw, Indiana. Let's talk about the All-American Tournament, the first big event in the States at home in Winter Haven, Florida. The All-American was just hosted. They had, I'll just recap a few things. First of all, they have a crap ton of events. They've got freestyle jump in multiple divisions. They've got swivel. They had 180, 360 open. They had 180 pairs, 360 pairs, open pairs. Men's and women's freestyle, novice doubles, open doubles, novice jump, team jump. Essentially I forget what it's called, like an act competition where they could do any act they want, like a showcase. They had a specialty act competition, I think is what that was called. And then they had a barefoot endurance competition. So they had a lot of stuff going on. A lot of talent was there. So I'll just recap a little bit, and then we can kind of talk and banter about this and maybe what it is going to bring for the upcoming season. Cale Duquesne won freestyle. He made a mobe and a back half. He got ball on his second back half. Bryson Mace took second, also made a one-ski mobe, and made his first ever back half in that competition. The first one he's ever made. Eli Carson took third. He made a one-ski gainer and a one-ski mobe. He attempted a back half. Ty Carson took fourth. He made a front half. Sarah Fedorowicz took sixth. She made a one-ski gainer and a one-ski flip. A lot of cool stuff there. Open swivel. Mally O'Connor, Brooke, and Lexi Gunderson took first, second, and third. Kind of rolling down through some of the events. Team jump was won by Legoland. I think that was a Lego team plus Ethan Schulda. Ethan, Luke Carson, Brett Berglund, Eli Carson, and Bryson Mace, and they won.
Ethan is skiing already?
Yeah, Ethan is skiing. Yep. Probably against doctor's orders, but he's on the water.
I can't imagine.
Specialty act, actually a girls double top 3-tier won that event. They wanted to do a 4-tier, didn't have the right people. They were trying to work on it, but ended up being double top 3, and they won the specialty act. So, all that said, what stands out to me is all that crazy young talent rising in freestyle. Unreal, right?
Yeah, like, holy cow. I mean, congrats to Kale. I mean, Kale's on a roll, man.
Yep.
Good for him. Awesome. Sarah, like I don't know. She just doesn't miss. Like, she's amazing. Just awesome. But I do have a question, though. All those things that you listed in the All-American tournament about all the different divisions and whatever, how many days was this tournament? Like, how did they get all of that in?
It was 2. They did jump Friday night. They did some jump stuff Friday night, and then it went all day Saturday.
Wow. Okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
A lot happening.
Yeah, I think, we're seeing and I almost feel odd saying it because it's not the next wave. Some of these guys are already here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you've got the current set of really good freestylers that you see on Team USA right now, led by Pete Hegarty and Liam and those guys. And just a few years ago, they were the young bucks, right? And now, you mentioned the tournament itself. I really enjoyed watching social media and rip sessions and just them going out on Jacksons together and just shredding with one another. You can tell that these kids, these guys, these girls are forming this new nucleus, this new bond together, and they are the next thing that's coming along. They're pushing one another and they're using one another to better themselves, and it's fun to watch, man.
They're pushing the veterans. So, you mentioned those guys, Liam, Pete, all these guys, Ethan. These guys have been at the top of the game in freestyle jump of late.
Yep.
Are now have this next group coming right up behind them. I mean, those guys Kale made a mobe and a back half. Bryson made a mobe and a back half. Ty made a front half. Like, insanity.
Eli made a mobe. Eli made a mobe.
Yeah, Eli made a mobe, a one-ski mobe. So there's 3 one-ski mobes, 2 back halves, a front half. Like, wow. So cool to see
Ethan's
that.
Ethan's the old guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When did that happen? Right?
Exactly.
So, it's crazy.
Do you think that any of this gets slowed down by the closing of Lego? Like, this core group of youngins that maybe isn't skiing as much? I mean, maybe they are. I don't know, but I'm just wondering if you think that has a long-term effect going forward, where you don't have that platform, where these skiers are kind of together all the time, pushing each other.
It's a fair question. I think some of them are skiing more in unemployment than they were in employment, and also some of them are still in high school. So these kids are young. Some of them are really young and getting after it, and the tricks that these guys are doing at such a young age is super impressive. It's great for the sport. It's going to continue to push the sport. We've talked about the girls and the elevation of that game as well. Bailey and Sarah were awesome at the All-American, And then you got these young buck guys hanging with the big dogs, and it's fun. It's going to be fun to see where freestyle goes. The other piece of that, Adam, to counter that is there's more prize money in buck up now. Is that going to lure more guys to train harder, to attend the tournaments, to compete with each other? Because they're competing for $2,000 cash prize.
Wow.
So
very cool.
So that could be cool. Yeah.
Money's a good motivator.
Money is.
That's why we do the podcast, baby.
Fun stuff. Congrats to everybody at the All-American. Really great to see it. You know, one of the other guys, Adam, that did awesome at the All-American, and he is coming on as a star, is Dallas Hovda. He is on the rise. Watching him jump is super impressive. He's got incredible air sense. He attempted a front mob at the All-American. Front Mobius.
Front mob.
He attempted. Now, it hasn't been done in forever. I just had my son Eli. We were talking about this when he saw that. He's like, when was the last one done? And I said, I think we've talked about this before. Guys have attempted them. Hunter Hansen will tell us that Mike Baker was the last one to make it. And guys have done it at a cable park. Dave Reinhardt was the last to do it really consistently. And,
I was going to say, it was Dave doing it consistently.
Consistently. 1 and 2 ski. And Eli was pulling up videos the other day on YouTube just watching Reinhardt's front mobs. And, it's insanity. So, anyway, want to talk about Saga Sports here, Adam, because Dallas attempted that front mob. And you know how he's able to do that? He's able to do that because of Saga Sports. Saga stands for Ski and Gymnastics Academy, and it's run by Dallas's dad, John Hovda.
Yeah, they do on-water ski lessons as well as extensive trampoline training to help you take your freestyle jumping to the next level. Many of the young talents in the sport today have trained at Saga on the trampoline. It helps to eliminate the painful falls by learning technique and air sense in a safe training environment like on a trampoline.
Yep. Check out Saga Sports and get all the amazing training you need to take your skills to the next level. Find them at sagasports.us. That's sagasports.us. Not Mike Baker, Andrew Baker was the one that did the front mob at a cable park. My mistake on that. But yes, Andrew Baker, I remember that. So we'll see who's going to make the next front mob off the ramp. That'll be cool stuff. I mean, guys have done it. Guys have been attempting it. Guys have been working on it. Pete mentioned in our last podcast he was working hard last spring on them. And,
you got to get your skis over the rope. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's
Yep.
I remember them talking about that on ESPN Hot Summer Nights. When every time Dave would do one, they would dissect it and say just how crazy difficult it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, insane.
That's how old we are.
All right, well, let's talk about D2 Nationals. It's been a frequent topic of this podcast over the years, just with the different iterations and locations and popularity and ideas. But recently, it has been announced that D2 Nationals this coming summer was originally going to be held in Winter Haven, Florida, Lake Silver, home of the Cypress Gardens ski team. And it is now has been moved to Loves Park, Illinois, home of the Ski Bronx. And so we want to talk about how that happened and why, and is a little back story to it. So, Dave, keep me honest here in my storytelling and recollection of all this, and please feel free to chime in. But there was a rule change this winter so looking at the P&P and the seating for individuals and team, there was a rule change. We wanted to make it clear that if you qualify for D1, you need to ski at D1. And that the purpose behind that is to prevent sandbagging, to make sure that really at its genesis, the top individuals and teams are competing at D1, and then the next tier of individuals and teams are skiing at D2. That's the global perspective of that. As this rule change was coming about, this is after Cypress Gardens had already been awarded to be host of D2 Nationals. Okay, they were awarded that 18 months ago to host this year's D2 Nationals. And this rule change is coming about it was actually discovered that at the individual level, it's already in the rule book, that it already says for seeding that the top 2 competitors in each discipline automatically qualify for D1 and cannot ski in D2. It did not say that in the team portion. And the belief is that it actually was a clerical error back when those seeding rules were implemented and put into the P&P manual, that was simply an oversight, because those sections are basically identical on the team section and the individual section. The language for seeding is basically identical, but the team portion does not say the line that the top 2 teams automatically qualify for D1 in each region. The top 2 teams in each region automatically qualify for D1 and cannot ski D2. So it did not say that. And the reason that's important is because Cypress Gardens is likely to take first or second at the Southern Regional. And they would then not be able to ski Division II Nationals, of which they are hosting. So to make a long story longer, the rule change that was also implemented allowed teams to, we put in the language that, yes, if you qualify for D1, you have to ski for D1 unless you don't hit a benchmark score in teams and individuals, and there's numbers laid out. If you scored below a certain benchmark, you could opt into D2 even if you were first or second place in your regional. Those benchmarks would still probably prevent Cypress Gardens from skiing at D2. So there's a lot of conversation, and there was back and forth, and the net result is that Nationals is being moved to Love's Park.
Did Cypress Gardens back out of hosting?
So that's a great
or
question.
They told you. Okay.
They were not told anything, so there was a little bit of a back and forth, so there's two possible components to this. The reality is that there was probably only going to be 2 or 3 teams competing at the Southern Regional, even with Cypress Gardens, or not the Southern Regional, sorry, at D2 Nationals.
D2 Nationals.
There's only going to be 2 or 3 teams at D2 Nationals, even if Cypress Gardens competed.
Because of most of them are from northern Wisconsin, and
a lot of the teams
travel logistics.
And not even all the Southern Region teams were going to attend D2 Nationals. So it's going to be a small tournament. So did Cypress Gardens, decide that, well, this is not really worth it if there's only 2 or 3 teams? Were they ruffled a little bit by some of the rule change conversation about teams and eligibility, and this happening after the fact that they were awarded the bid? I think there's probably some truth in the middle in there, but the net result is that they then sent a letter to the NSSA saying, we no longer wish to host D2 Nationals. You guys should find an alternate site.
Was there a new bidding, or Rockford just picked it up?
So there were 2 teams that had previously also bid on it in that year's bid cycle. Mm-hmm. And it was Shawano and it was Ski Bronx. And both teams were asked if they were interested in hosting, and Shawano declined, and Ski Bronx said yes.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So, Dave, how was that messy explanation? What did I miss? What can you clarify for us?
Absolutely nothing. I think you did a good recap. Certainly, depending on the lens that you look through, Cypress Gardens, based off of their knowledge of the situation and the discussions that they had, they may be able to add some additional context, again, from their lens. But I think you fairly objectively went ahead and laid it all out. It'll be interesting, right? Like, I think no matter what, thanks to the Ski Bronx for stepping up. Thanks for them for hosting D2 Nationals, both individuals as well as team. But now I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion going into this season as well as this off season in terms of What does D2 Nationals look like? We have the metrics. We have it by year, by site, the number of teams that ultimately participate, and you can make some fairly. It sounds like it's an oxymoron, but some fairly objective assumptions in terms of what works well and what doesn't. We know that when D2 Nationals is in northern Wisconsin, it tends to garner additional interest from teams just due to logistics, travel, expense, finances, and whatnot. What does that then do in terms of, again, providing access to other regions? It's a tough discussion, but one that needs to be had, and we need to continue to work through.
Yeah, I think this will bring back that conversation of what is best for D2 Nationals. What is its purpose, and what is the best case scenario? Because the two sides of the argument are, one, that it should move to other regions and it should move in proximity to regions that are more developing in nature, to give those regions the opportunity to compete at the national level, to give them a flavor of nationals, to give them that opportunity for growth and to experience nationals. The flip side of that argument is it should be in a location where more teams will compete. Now, the downside of that argument is it just going to become another Wisconsin State D2, D3 tournament? And so there's a lot of different elements to the conversation ultimately of what's best for Division II Nationals, and it now comes to the limelight again. We had a special Sunday night episode with representatives at, remember that, a live stream we did on Facebook talking about D2 Nationals? Several people, that was a few years ago. Like, this is a topic that hasn't gone away. I'll just say this, what I've loved about D2 Nationals of late is in conjunction with the growth of the team event is the growth of the individual side of the event. Individual events since COVID have grown exponentially. The number of competitors interested in competing individually is through the roof right now. And it is an opportunity for growth in our sport to capitalize on the interest that is there both at the team level and the individual level. And so I've liked seeing that over the last few years.
I think that we need to have a all-encompassing discussion, and we need to look at the competition factor. We also need to do a little root cause analysis to say what would potentially get teams to travel a little bit further. What sort of experience, what sort of event would we have to provide for that to happen, right? And so, we've bantered about it in the past. We've done it here on the podcast. I'd love to see a pilot, a trial where we would go ahead and combine D1 and D2 Nationals. We would go ahead and offer a 4-day tournament with individuals starting on Thursday and have all the open classes. D2 individuals would happen on a different weekend, either before or after, similar to what it is now. Friday would be an all-encompassing D2 tournament with 8 teams, 9 teams minimum, which it may sound like that's not as many as what we would like, but it's more on average, certainly, than what we are experiencing year to year from a D2 national event. And then continue with the D1 tournament on Saturday, 8 teams, Sunday, 6 teams. And now you've got more of a reason potentially, and again, this is one person's view, only my subjective opinion, but now you've got the experience there where you've got 8 or 9 D2 teams that they come to the same event that all the larger D1 teams are at. They're able to go ahead and they're able to stay for each of those shows, watch the open individuals competition. It's more of a destination for families, for individuals, for teams. It's something that we may want to give some thought to.
Yeah, you and I have bantered about this for years. We've floated the idea. We've talked about it on this podcast. We've talked about it. We've floated it at the NSSA level. The one pushback we've gotten on it is that it limits the abilities for multiple teams to host nationals in a summer. Right now, a team hosts D2 and a team hosts D1, and there's more availability of hosting tournaments in our current model. If we go to one site, you're limiting the ability for others to host, because it's also going to be a giant tournament. You're going to have to have the right hosts as well. That's the one pushback I've heard on it. The plus side, and you captured a lot of them, Dave, so I think one element we need to do a better job in our sport is what does it look like from an outsider's perspective? How can we shine a light on our sport? How can we attract a television or streaming audience? And you do that by having a giant, awesome event with tons of awesome competitors, tons of awesome teams. Like, just think about the eyes that event could attract, the sponsors that event could attract. That, I think, is super cool. The other piece is, from a competitor standpoint, having everybody together in one weekend would be an absolute blast. It would be a huge tournament. It would be fun. The D2 teams would get to see all the D1 shows and hang out and watch. The competitors would all be together. There's just a lot of positive there. But I think ultimately what it boils down to is the organization has to decide what is D2 Nationals, what is its purpose? And I don't know that we have a set roadmap right now that we're all convinced of what its purpose is. We're not all on the same page on that, and I think we need to get there.
There's not a right or wrong answer, right? And there's going to be pros and cons to any concept that is an option. And so I'm looking forward to the discussion. You need to go to the teams, you need to go to the individuals to get their perspective as well. They're the front line. They need to weigh in. They need to speak with their representatives. They need to speak with their athlete representatives, and be sure to weigh in so that we can then take that and we can take that back to the board.
The other piece of the discussion that's interesting is calendar and timing, because our Division I Nationals is late for a lot of tourist towns, a lot of southern folks that school starts earlier. Like, basically south of the Wisconsin border, school has started the day after Nationals.
Right.
And so do we move it up to the D2 Nationals weekend and have that combined weekend be then, and open up the calendar a little bit where there's not the angst of school starting in so many places?
That's a great point. Is that limiting participation? Is that a variable?
Right.
So everything's got to be taken into context.
Yep.
And just because we do something, there's reasons we do something, but we need to take a harder look at it. I agree.
Yep.
Well, whenever you guys have this discussion, you better set aside a week, because just the two of you could talk about this for hours. I can't imagine what a room full of like-minded individuals, it's a rabbit hole. Holy smokes. But yeah, I mean, all good points. I would love to see it. You can't really knock it till you try it. If we were to do a combined D1, D2 Nationals, let's see what it does. They're great. It'd be fun.
Agree. All right. Well, gentlemen, let's get to the fun stuff. We have set up today that we're going to do a Mount Rushmore of our top 4 show ski acts of all time. Now, these are not big pull. These are not practice. These are acts performed in competition. And we have each come up with our own 4. We have not talked about this with each other, so we have no idea what each other's own picks are. I'm guessing there will be some overlap. It's going to be cool. Do we want to go like one at a time? We each pick one, and then we kind of go in a circle that way? Should we do it that way?
Sure.
Yeah, but we should back up. For those of you that don't know, Mount Rushmore is a big rock, a cliff or mountain, whatever you want to call it. It's a mount, and it features the faces of 4 U.S. presidents, which are George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln. So, yes, we're going to pick 4 acts in representation of the 4 presidents listed on Mount Rushmore. All right, let's do it.
You just wanted to look smarter than us there. I mean,
I just Googled it. Yeah, I'm not smart. I'm not
He's
smarter
reading
than
off
you.
his screen, making us look stupid.
Yeah. I actually saw Jimmy Kimmel where they interviewed people and asked him who was on Mount Rushmore, and nobody knew. So after that, I'm like, I got to know this in case I ever get interviewed.
Yeah.
All right, I'm excited.
So let's dive in. We'll go Adam, Dave, Matt. We'll go in that round robin. Adam, what's your first act on Mount Rushmore?
Before we get into this, I'm going to say people have to realize if we start going back in time, some of these acts that we might list as greatest acts in show skiing today probably wouldn't score worth a squat, right? I mean, that's possible. Correct. It's very possible. My first one is, and I don't know what to call it. I can't remember what year it was. It wasn't that long ago, but Wonder Lake when Dan Hansen, Deepwater, started barefoot and pulled a jumper behind him and did a circle. Yep. Like he started the jumper and he brought the jumper back to the beach. That was just mind-boggling, unbelievable. That was a feat. Like, holy smokes.
It was a feat. And that didn't even make my top 10 on my list. Dan Hansen's an absolute beast.
Nobody has any idea.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How hard that is.
Adam's not going to be repeating any acts with us, I don't think.
No, I am not. Yes, I am not. Yeah, for sure. None of mine. Go ahead. I want to hear yours. I'm interested.
He wore a climbing harness and deep watered him up. Incredible. All right, Dave, what's your first Mount Rushmore show act?
I'm going to go with low-hanging fruit. To this day, any time that a 5-high is performed, you're going to ultimately see people standing before they even hit the beach. And specifically an up, down, and in 5-high, that's an immediate standing ovation. It's captivating, it's breathtaking, and it's only been done a handful of times.
Yeah.
It's been so impressive because actually there's been quite a few teams that have done a 5-high in practices or in shows, and I'm going to get in trouble, but it started with Cypress Gardens as a professional team, REJ, Wonder Lake, Little Crow, Badgerland, Mad City, Waterhawks, BWG, Tampa.
So what's the one that's on Mount Rushmore?
The one that is on Mount Rushmore.
Just say 5-high. What act?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to just say 5-high, up, down, and in, right?
No,
that was.
I have one of these on my Mount Rushmore, but it's a particular one for a reason.
Yeah. I'm going to give credence to the old, I guess it would be the 493, the highest scoring act ever scored at a national tournament. It was RAJ, the first 5-high, up, down.
1993 Rock Aqua Jays, correct. Yep. And I'll chat about that later because I've got that. We're going to chat about some more about that. But yes, the first 5-high. So here's my first one before I cycle back to the 5-high. My first act on Mount Rushmore is the Ski Bronx Prefab Pyramid in 1991. It was the first prefab ever performed. It was a single 3-2-1. And it propelled the Ski Bronx to a national championship in 1991.
Yep.
The first ever prefab pyramid, which we now see as a staple today. It's on my Mount Rushmore because of its historical relevance, which is where I went with a lot of my acts, to be on Mount Rushmore, these are historically relevant show acts. And for me, the Ski Bronx prefab is on Mount Rushmore.
Now, you'll have to keep me honest here, but I think it's close because the same year that they won the national championship, they did the prefab, which was mind-blowing, to your point. Mm-hmm. I think they also did the first barefoot start circle, hot pickup as well. It could have been. It could have been.
Great question.
Yep. So anyway, I digress, but awesome selection.
Yep. All right, Adam, what do you got?
Okay, well, if we're talking about historic, I know you're going back to the 90s. I'm going to go to today saying that this act that I'm about to mention is going to be viewed years from now as historic. And it is the girls' montage from Team USA this year.
I knew you were going to go there.
Yep.
You went this year's. Okay.
This year's.
Okay.
3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Awesome act.
So we've had that act since 2012.
Yep. But I'm talking about this one in particular from 2025.
Which you should, because it had elements that have never been done.
Yep.
The other one that I was thinking of, because I thought you would go there, was in 2018 when you actually didn't announce it, but Jack Lyman did, and it was truly all girls montage that year. Raising the bar for women, girl power, all in. But with this act, the sport, the girls are elevating the sport in a big way.
Yeah. I didn't announce that act in 2018, and I didn't announce this year's either. Mm-hmm. But no, that was just a phenomenal act, and what they did and what they accomplished. You will look back on that one and be like, oh, yeah, that's what started it. Like, man, holy smokes.
Just
so
to your point, Adam, just to punctuate kind of the evolution of that act for Team USA.
Yeah.
This year, from start to finish, Faith did a beautiful 1 foot throw, back deep 1 foot throw at the show course. The girls did a first time ever 1440s, right? Like, had never done that. They stepped up their game. Absolutely gorgeous, all four of them. We came through with our prototypical, our hallmark triple heli, which we've seen throughout the years. But then obviously the icing on the cake was a four girl front flip, which is absolutely insane. So,
which made it in both shows.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Just so fun.
Girls stomped it all weekend long. Anyway, awesome.
Dave, what do you got for your second Mount Rushmore show act?
I have something that was done, and I will pretty much guarantee will never be seen again. Matthew, any idea? Give me a guess. Anything?
I'm going to guess the 3-2-1 barefoot pyramid.
Man, you are good. 3-2-1 BFP Little Crow, successfully completed in 2002, and I did my history today, 2004. Dan Olson topping either one or both of those years. Everybody knows Dan Olson.
Yep.
Hats off to Roger and Sherry for allowing their kid to be 3 high, going 48 miles per hour. Love them both. But absolutely captivating. Again, one really cool thing about that act is it was in a show in which I can't see both 02 and 04. 6 BFPs started out that show. There was a 3-2-1 BFP in the show, like we just called out. And then on top of it, there was a back barefoot pyramid in the show as well. Crazy talent. It was awesome.
Yep. Cool. Yep. Great act. My second Mount Rushmore, I'm going to go with the RAJ 5 high, the same as Dave. The first 5 high performed in competition in 1993. Again, groundbreaking at that time. I will say this, though. I do believe, because you talked about the up, down, and in, I do believe that the first up, down, and in competition was a few years later, and it was Badgerland. And they scored 471 in 99, up, down, and in. I watched a video of it. It was spectacular. Paul Drost announcing everybody to the beach. And that was impressive.
I don't understand how you guys know this stuff. Like, to be able to recite. Is that like you can Google this? First 5 high in competition. Like, I don't know where you're getting this stuff from. So you guys are encyclopedias. It's great. I am not.
Jeff Henke confirmed that. I actually reached out to him beforehand, and he said,
"God, you guys did research on this stuff. I feel bad. I should have done more work."
And because there's so much time put into that act, and there's so much pride associated with it that you want to pay it forward. You don't want to misspeak. And to your point, Matt, that's a great call. Badgerland, first one, up, down, and in. And Jeff Henke made mention and referenced as much as well.
Yep, and when I watched the video back, Jeff is on stage. He's in that act. it was cool, and they had a country western theme. Adam, they had a barn on the dock. They were decked out. It was fun stuff. So,
awesome.
All right, Adam, your third Mount Rushmore.
I don't know. You tell me, Matt. What am I going to say? You seem to kind of know what everybody's going to pick.
No, I have an idea what you're going to pick. It's something you've announced, right? Do you have something on your list that you've announced?
Yes.
Paul 2009 Paul O'Connor one-man jump act. I knew you were going there, you stupid.
Yes.
I knew it. I told my son, so Eli and I were going through it today, and he's like, what are you going to have on it? And I said, I was considering that because it was groundbreaking at the time. But I thought you would go there because you announced it, and that was one of the most fun acts for you to announce.
Yep. That's one of the reasons. But it's just at the time though, like to do that.
Yep.
I mean, now it gets done a lot, but man, he was first.
I want to give you a backstory on two things on that act. One is more than one time it did not win the award for highest scoring jump act, even though it was the highest scoring jump act, because it was not named a jump act. Do you remember this? Because of the stupid semantics rules in our sport with how you name acts. Because it was a one-man act, we had a contingency that if Paul got hurt, that act wasn't going to be a jump act.
Yeah.
So we called it the jaw dropper. Do you remember that?
Yes, we did.
On the score sheet, it was called the jaw dropper. It looked like a jump act, it smelled like a jump act, and it scored like a jump act, but it did not win at a couple of tournaments the highest scoring jump act. And finally, we called it jaw dropper jump in 2009, and he won the award for highest scoring jump act. But there's just not recognizing that as a jump act when it's clearly a jump act because of the way it was labeled. The other piece was he whacked his head early in that show in 2009.
Yep.
He had his bindings duct taped to his ankles. Do you remember when he came to shore and he had to undo the duct tape when he landed?
Yeah.
Legendary stuff.
People need to understand that he was skiing on cut down jumpers that today would not sell for $20. And the bindings were duct taped to his feet. And he was going 26 miles an hour for a front flip, a gainer, and a mobe.
Yeah.
But the other piece was the driving was the boat never left dock to dock. It was
a true circle.
And he actually did a gainer, a 720, and a mobe.
Oh, that's right. It started out as a front flip. And the 7. And
then it grew. He did a flip gainer mobe, but he did a gainer, a 720, and a mobe in 2009.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
man. Yeah.
All right, Dave, your third Mount Rushmore.
So I went Pyramid 1. I actually went Pyramid 2. I'm going Pyramid 3.
You're going to steal mine here. I know it. I feel it coming.
I don't think you can get around Wonder Lake prefabs, 6 prefabs, 2019, 2021. When Wonder Lake, it's one thing if you start a show. It's another thing if you end a show, with it. But Wonder Lake being able to do 6 prefabs successfully, and the crowd is already standing before they even come off the dock. The anticipation is there. The chills are there. Absolutely amazing watching them come off the dock. And they have done 7 before in a practice, but 6 is the most both at a national tournament in 19 and 21.
That's an awesome one, and I went the same but a little different. So what I remember from a historical perspective as one of the most eye-popping acts is when they did the dock split.
The split.
So
the 2 and the 4.
2006 and 2007. So actually in 2006, Eddie Kalber was announcing it.
Was.
In 2007. So 2006 was actually better because they made it. They took 2 off from the jump dock on the right. Then they circled around and split the dock and picked 4 more. Dock split, built up the hype, crowd on their feet, the anticipation, the cheers when they all made it was unbelievable. The energy was palpable. In 2007 they did it. In the act, they had 8 prefabs in the act. They took 2, then they took 2 more, and 2 of those circled in to pick up 4 more.
Yep.
In 2007 Nationals, they lost 1 on the hot pickup off the dock. So they actually made 7 out of 8 prefabs in that act. Jim Lasky announcing, hyping it up. So fun. The Wonder Lake prefab dock split makes my Mount Rushmore.
Shout
Adam,
out
your
to
last
Bria
one.
today to helping me out with that one. I had to go back because I couldn't remember
That's
the
cool.
years.
Great stuff. Adam, what's your last one? We're down to our last Mount Rushmore here.
Well, Five High was on my list, but you guys kicked that horse. I mean, so I'll pick something else. You're gonna laugh at me. You're gonna laugh at me for this. I don't know why this act sticks out in my mind. It just does. And I don't even know what year it was, but it was when Rezin was a aqua skier. Your freaking jump act in those black barbed wire wetsuits when you started with the pickup boat. The guy he skied behind the pickup boat, and then it was one guy behind the pickup boat, and then it was two guys, and then it was three guys. It was like a 5-boat act, and just each boat had one more guy to it. And I don't know why that sticks out in my mind, but probably just that show in general. But yeah,
all right.
It was just the vibe. It was just the vibe at the time, and that just has never left my mind for some reason. I don't know.
Good one.
And is that the year you guys ended the show with a back barefoot line?
It was. That was the year
And
that
then
we
you
had.
changed the rule of getting on a barge.
Yep.
Not a pickup boat.
Now you got a back barefoot line to end the show. Yep. And
yeah, that was potentially on my list too.
Yep.
That's cool stuff. All right, Dave, what's your last Mount Rushmore act?
So my last one, I went pyramid. I'm going to throw a bone to my freestylers. How can you not put out there the 2000 Tampa Bay jump team?
Damn you, that was my last one too!
Was that the 7-man with Hank? Hank
Jeff
Amos
the
is in
Schmidt.
it?
Man.
Gino Yockler.
Yep.
Hank Amos.
Yep.
Steve
That's
Bates.
on my Mount Rushmore as well. It's my last one too.
And here's my quick story. Everybody's got stories. Aqua skiers, that same aqua skier team, had just got done. There hadn't even been a 5-man front flip attempted. And we just made our 5-man front flip back in 2000. And we thought we were there. And we heard Tampa was coming up and all these pros. And then Tampa went out there and they missed 6. They went out, they hit 7. But on top of that, double one ski Mo back in 2000. And to just have these pro tour icons like Gino and Schmidt and Hank all skiing right in front of you, in front of your eyes, it was absolutely incredible. And so it literally, it brings chills. It was amazing. And then when they made that 7-man, and when what's his name was on one ski and ultimately dragging behind the boat, and they picked him up, or not picked him up, but helped him up, and they came into the beach. Unbelievable.
Yep. That one made mine. Absolutely was on my Mount Rushmore. You know, this again, looking at historical perspective, the first 7-man in competition, things that laid the groundwork for the future is kind of where I went on mine. So just a quick recap here. Adam had the Dan Hansen backbreaker, Team USA Girls Montage 2025, the Paul O'Connor one-man jump act, and the Aqua Skiers jump act from 2000. Dave had the RAJ First 5 High, the 321 Little Crow Barefoot Pyramid, Wonder Lake 6 Prefabs, and the 2000 Tampa Jump Act. I had the Ski Bronx 91 Prefab, the first ever prefab in competition. RAJ's First 5 High in 93. Wonder Lake 2006 Prefab Dock Split Act. And the 2000 Tampa Jump Act. So, there you go. That's our Mount Rushmore, gentlemen. Well done.
That was fun.
That was fun. We should do more of that. Adam, Eli says we should do would you rather questions to each other about show skiing. No, like for real. Would you rather announce Paul O'Connor's one-man jump act or the girls' montage from 2025? Like some questions like that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ask each other.
Good, because would you rather can go a very different direction and would not be appropriate for the airwaves.
No, we're not doing that game with Dave on the show either.
Mine is pretty simple. It's always the same.
I know. Stop.
It's always the same. Always the same.
All right. So before we wrap up today, Adam, let's talk about Paul Stokes and the American Family Insurance Agency. Paul is a fantastic insurance agent with American Family, and you should definitely check him out. Paul's tagline is "Get stoked and stay stoked," and he's also giving back to show ski teams.
Yes, his Get Stoked process is his easy quoting process. Contact Paul to get an insurance quote. So if you contact Paul and you get an insurance quote, your team will get $30 donated directly to your team by Paul. That's it. You just get a quote, $30 to your team. Get a quote, get $30. There's no obligation to sign on with Paul in any way.
Nope.
Just get a quote, $30. Boom.
The Paul Stokes Agency at American Family is giving back, and you'd be a fool not to at least get a quote. Contact him today to get that quote and save money on your insurance. Get stoked and stay stoked with Paul Stokes and American Family Insurance.
Dave, thanks for joining us again today.
That was fun. That was fun, guys.
It's a good one. I think we should just do more episodes like this that are just banter, talking current events. It doesn't always have to be topical, but maybe no one will listen. Who knows?
I was going to say, it's not going to drive the listeners, but it's
or
fun.
a topic or people aren't tuning in.
We could talk about D2 Nationals. I mean, it's popular with you guys.
Yep. Well, thank you to our sponsors today, FlymanSkis. Get your skis at FlymanSkis.com. Saga Sports, that trampoline, on water and off water training at sagasports.us. And we just talked about it, Paul Stokes, American Family Insurance. Get your quote, get $30. We're headed toward the season now, Adam, and we're looking forward to more great podcast episodes. If you, our listeners, have show ideas, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks again to all of our listeners and our viewers. This is Matt and Adam, and this is The Ski Show.
Thank you for listening to The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast with Matt and Adam. If you have questions or ideas for the show, find us on social media or message us at theskishowpodcast@gmail.com.